Okay, let's just jump right into this. If you've been wanting to try your hand at a beautiful plush-style doll, well, you are in exactly the right place. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're going to go step by step through the beginner-friendly Loomelle Design Sunflower Fairy keychain pattern. By the end of our time together, you're going to know exactly how to turn just a few balls of yarn into a genuinely stunning little magical creature. Just look at the details on the final product. We've got this delicate 9 centimeter tall fairy surrounded by these beautiful posable sunflowers. Now, I know what you might be thinking. It looks super complex, right? Especially with those delicate wired wings and the layered flower petals. But I promise you, it is built entirely from simple, bite-sized techniques that absolutely anyone can master. We're going to break the whole thing down together. So here is our game plan. We're tackling this 12-page pattern chronologically. We'll kick things off with our supplies, quickly review our essential amigurumi vocabulary, and then dive right into crocheting the fairy parts. After that, we'll craft all those magical accessories, step our way through the assembly, and finally, lock in those all-important finishing touches. All right, moving into section 1, materials and prep. Let's get our crafting arsenal together. Here is exactly what you'll need to grab. You want about 15 to 20 grams total of fingering weight yarn that's also known as 4-ply. You'll need colors like skin, sunflower yellow, deep gold, dark brown, and stem green. Pair all that with a small 1.75 to 2 millimeter hook. For the hardware and accessories, you'll want a pair of tiny 4mm black safety eyes, some soft polyester fiberfill for the stuffing, a bit of thin 26 to 30 gauge craft wire for our frames, and some size 10 mint cotton lace thread specifically for those delicate wings, and of course a standard 25mm keychain ring. Now listen up, because this is absolutely crucial before we make a single stitch. In amigurumi, you always want to use a tighter than recommended gauge. When you hold your crocheted fabric up to a light source, there should be literally no holes. If your stitches are too loose, that white fiberfill stuffing is going to peek right through, and that's a super common beginner mistake. So make sure your hook is moving smoothly, but keep that yarn taut. Okay, let's roll right into section 2, essential stitches. So you're going to be making a lot of decreases to shape the head and the body. But if you use a standard decrease, it actually leaves a little bump or gap. We don't want that. Instead, you'll use this invisible decrease method. By working through the front loops only of your next 2 stitches, it creates a perfectly clean, seamless finish that keeps all your stuffing totally hidden. Seriously, it's a total game changer for amigurumi. Just a quick vocab refresher so you feel totally confident. MR stands for magic ring, which is how we start almost every circular piece, pulling it tight so there's zero hole at the beginning. SC is your absolute bread and butter single crochet. INC means putting 2 single crochets into 1 stitch to grow your circle, while DEC shrinks it. FLO and BLO just mean working in the front or back loops only, which gives us these great distinct ridges. Remember, we're working in continuous spiral rounds, so always use a stitch marker at the start of a round so you don't lose your place. All right, section 3, crocheting the fairy parts. This is the main event. We're going to build our fairy from the head down. Grab that skin-toned yarn. You'll start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets and gradually increase round by round until you hit 30 stitches, which gives you this nice rounded bowl shape. Then you'll crochet a couple of flat rounds for the face, pause to snap in those eyes, and then begin your invisible decreases back down to 6 stitches. Now, as you decrease, you've got to stuff the head really firmly. It should feel like a solid little sphere by the time you close up that final gap. And here is a massive warning for beginners. Stop exactly when the pattern tells you to. After round 7, count to the center front and place your 4mm eyes with about 5 stitches between them. Secure those plastic backings firmly right then and there. Whatever you do, do not wait past round 8 to insert them. If you do, the opening is going to be way too tight for your fingers to reach inside safely. Next up, we make the body, legs, and arms. The body starts from the bottom up, smoothly switching from skin color to yellow to create the dress bodice. That part gets lightly stuffed, but I've got a fantastic teacher tip for you here when it comes to the limbs. You're going to crochet the tiny legs and arms as narrow little tubes, but you are going to leave them completely unstuffed. When you finish them, you literally just press the tops flat. This guarantees that when we sew them on later, they lay perfectly flush against her body and swing naturally, rather than sticking straight out like a stiff little starfish. Moving to section 4, crafting the accessories. Let's add the magic. For the skirt, remember how we talked about front loops only? Well, you'll attach your yellow yarn directly to those visible front loops we left on the body's waistline and crochet 6 beautiful overlapping petals right onto the doll. Now for her gorgeous golden hair, we use what's called the strand method. Instead of making a thick, chunky crochet wig cap, you just cut 12-centimeter strands of yarn, fold them in half, hook the loop through a stitch on the head, and pull the ends through to knot it. It basically gives her hair extensions. This keeps the inside of the head perfectly smooth, avoiding any weird bulk, and gives the hair a lovely natural drape. Now for my absolute favorite part, the wings. You'll cut some thin craft wire and twist it into 4 little teardrop frames. The crucial safety check here is to make sure those sharp wire ends are bent inward. Then, using a tiny 1mm hook and your mint lace thread, you're actually going to single crochet tightly directly over the wire frame so the metal is completely encased. Finally, you just chain stitches up the center to create those beautiful, delicate fairy wing veins. The accompanying sunflowers are practically a whole project on their own. They look incredibly realistic because of all the 3D texture. First, you'll make a firmly stuffed brown dome for the center, then you separately crochet 8 long yellow outer petals and 8 slightly shorter gold inner petals. But the stem is just brilliant. You take a piece of wire, fold the tip into a hook for safety, and actually do 4 single crochets in a continuous spiral right over the wire core. It creates this amazing, sturdy, posable green stem. All right, section 5, step-by-step assembly. Let's put this giant puzzle together. First things first, take those 2 flattened legs and sit them side by side right inside the open bottom of the body. Whip stitch the body closed entirely around them so they are securely trapped in the base. Next, position your head on the top neck opening. Using your yarn tail, sew through alternating stitches on the neck and the head, going around at least twice. You want to ensure that joint is completely smooth. If you see any puckering, just pull your yarn tighter. Finally, attach the flattened arms, right at the shoulders, angling them slightly forward and downward. When you're attaching those delicate wings to the back of her bodice, don't just tack them to the surface. You really want to stitch through the inner wing edge deep into the body, across 3 or 4 rows so they stand slightly away from her back. For the sunflower, sew your outer yellow petals evenly around the back of the brown center, then layer the gold ones right behind the gaps. Take that posable wire stem you made, push the wire hook right into the back of the assembled sunflower head, and stitch it totally secure. To finish the assembly, use a little green yarn to tie your keychain split ring directly to the top loops of the fairy's head. We are almost at the finish line. Section 6, finishing and shaping. These final refinements are exactly what take your project from just good to spectacular. Grab some medium brown embroidery thread and a tapestry needle. Right below and directly between the eyes, stitch a tiny, curved 3-stitch wide smile. And here is a strict rule straight from the designer. Skip the eyebrows. I know it's tempting, but leaving them off keeps that classic, sweet, innocent aesthetic. Also, make sure you use your needle to weave any loose yarn tails at least 3 centimeters deep inside the stuffed pieces so they never, ever unravel. And if you spot a gap where stuffing is showing, just weave a matching piece of yarn over it to hide it. No one will ever know. So this next step is a process called blocking, and it works absolute wonders. If your sunflower petals are curling inward, or the fairy's skirt looks crumpled from you handling it for the last few hours, don't panic. Just lightly mist those specific areas with plain water, gently use your fingers to pin them flat into the perfect shape, and let them air dry completely. It essentially sets the yarn exactly how you want it to stay. Here is a handy proportion guide provided in the pattern, so you can benchmark your finished piece. If you use the right yarn and kept a nice tight tension, your lovely fairy should stand about 9 centimeters tall from head to toe. Her wingspan will be about 4 centimeters across, and the hair should fall beautifully to about 6 centimeters. If yours is a little bigger or a little smaller, that is totally okay, as long as those stitches are tight. And there you have it, the whole shebang is done. You've just mastered tight tension shaping, delicate wireframing, the strand hair method, and intricate amigurumi assembly. This really is a brilliant pattern that builds amazing foundational crochet skills while leaving you with a totally gorgeous result. So, the only question left for you is who is the lucky recipient going to be for this magical little keychain? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Grab your hook, grab your yarn, and happy crocheting.